Why did her body stay still when every instinct screamed to thrash and survive? The ocean hit her like betrayal. Not loud, not dramatic, just sudden, merciless cold that stole the breath straight out of her lungs and replaced it with panic. The Atlantic wrapped itself around Anna Sharma with indifferent violence, needles of ice forcing their way through fabric, skin, muscle. Somewhere above her, the rigid hull boat was already pulling away, its engine fatting into the storm-dark distance. Her body wanted to fight, to kick, to gasp, to claw upward. She didn't. She counted instead. 1, 2, 3. The water churned around her, bubbles ripping past her face as other bodies thrashed nearby. Strong bodies, bigger bodies, men whose strength had always answered problems with force. Their movements were frantic, inefficient. Panic burned energy faster than cold ever could. Anna stayed still. Fear didn't vanish. It never did, but discipline wrapped around it like a cage. Inside that cage, her heartbeat slowed. The chaos outside faded. She exhaled slowly, deliberately, and let the cold become information instead of an enemy. Endurance, she had learned, was quieter than strength. When she finally moved, her strokes were small, precise. No wasted motion, no bravado, just survival measured in patience. 2 kilometers later, as dawn bled faintly into the horizon, she reached the shoreline with fingers numb and muscles aching, but alive. Back at the training facility, warmth returned in stages. First pain, then stiffness, then the ache of knowing tomorrow would demand it all again. The ready room smelled like metal and sweat. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, flattening everything into gray. Anna sat on a wooden bench, disassembling her rifle piece by piece, each movement steady, controlled. The weapon didn't judge her. It responded to care. The room filled with voices, loud, confident, careless. She didn't look up. "Hell of a swim today," someone said, then laughter. Specialist Gable's voice cut through the rest, deep, certain, built on years of being the biggest man in every room. "Didn't think you'd make it, Sharma. Those arms look more suited for office work." Anna finished cleaning the bolt carrier group before answering, if what she did could be called answering at all. She reassembled the rifle, checked the chamber, set it beside her. Then she looked up. "The water temperature didn't change for me," she said evenly. "Did it for you?" The lack of reaction bothered him more than anger ever could. He scoffed, turning back to his friends, muttering something that earned chuckles. She returned to her work. Across the room, Master Chief Thorne watched everything without expression. He had seen hundreds like Gable. He had seen fewer like Anna. He said nothing. Observation was his language. Respect here wasn't granted. It was extracted through performance, and she hadn't finished paying yet. The kill house smelled like old plywood and sweat, the kind of place where mistakes echoed loudly and egos shattered quietly. Anna was paired with Gable. She noticed the assignment, so did everyone else. The exercise began violently. Doors kicked in, corners cleared. Gable moved like a battering ram, fast, loud, aggressive. Anna followed like a shadow, covering angles he ignored, correcting chaos before it bloomed into failure. Targets appeared. Gable fired wide. Anna fired twice. Center mass. Again and again. His frustration grew visible, radiating heat in tight spaces. When the final room opened, 2 hostiles and a civilian, protocol demanded patience. Gable ignored it. He stormed in, firing wildly. A marking round struck the civilian role player. Violation. Anna neutralized her target cleanly. Then it went wrong. Gable turned on her, fury replacing discipline. Words snapped, accusations hissed, and then, without warning, his hand tangled in her hair, yanking her head back hard enough to steal balance. For a split second, rage flared. Then discipline snapped shut. He had made a mistake. She moved with him, not against him. dropped her weight, trapped his wrist, found the nerve below his elbow and drove her knuckles into it with surgical precision. His grip failed instantly. Momentum did the rest. 2 seconds later, he was on the ground, arm locked, breath gone, shock written across his face. Anna knelt calmly, applying only enough pressure to control. Silence swallowed the room. Master Chief Thorne stepped forward. "Release him." She did. Her report afterward was clean, professional, emotionless. She spoke the language of accountability, not grievance. Thorne nodded once. 3 days later, the real mission came. The storm didn't care about unfinished conflicts or bruised egos. It only demanded decisions. The Triton platform loomed out of the sea like a dying animal, steel groaning as waves smashed into its legs. Wind screamed across exposed decks. Visibility collapsed into chaos. Anna knew this environment. Others feared it. When the lieutenant ordered a direct route across the open deck, Anna spoke, not loudly, not emotionally, but firmly. "That route will kill us." Silence followed, then resistance, then doubt. Finally, authority bent toward logic. She led them below instead, through rusted corridors and dripping steel, navigating by instinct and experience. No speeches, no triumph, just quiet competence. They reached the structure unseen. Inside, she planned the entry, ventilation shafts, silent timing, split focus. When violence came, it was brief and decisive. Later, climbing the exterior ladder toward the hostage, ice burned through gloves and doubt burned through nerves. Wind tried to tear them away. Anna led anyway. At the top, she saw the asset bruised, alive, and the man holding a gun inches from his head. There was no perfect angle. So she became the barrier. She stepped into the line of fire, disarmed the weapon, and when the enemy charged, she didn't fight strength with strength. She fought biology with knowledge. Seconds later, the man was unconscious on the floor. The storm began to fade. Back at base, reports were read, facts spoken, decisions weighed. Gable stood silent as his removal was ordered. Anna said nothing. Later, alone in the armory, she cleaned her rifle again. The same motions, the same calm. A teammate asked her to teach him the technique. She did. From across the room, Master Chief Thorne watched. Respect, she had learned, doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly. And sometimes, dignity doesn't speak at all. It simply acts. Why did the room feel colder after the swim, even though they were finally dry? Anna felt it the moment she stepped into the ready room, the shift in air that had nothing to do with temperature. Wet gear hung from racks. Boots lined the wall like obedient soldiers. Men laughed too loudly, the sound sharp and brittle, as if noise itself could warm them. She didn't join in. She sat on the bench, towel around her shoulders, hands moving with practiced calm as she began breaking down her rifle. Metal on metal, familiar, honest. Machines never pretended to be more than they were. Her muscles ached in that deep, satisfying way that meant she had endured something hard without being broken by it. Still, the swim replayed behind her eyes, the panic she'd watched bloom in others, the way cold made strong men reckless. No one asked her how she handled it. They never did. The laughter swelled near the lockers. Gable was holding court again, telling the story the way he wanted it remembered. How brutal the water was, how insane the instructors were, how some people barely survived. Anna didn't look up. That was when he noticed her silence. "Tough day out there, Sharma." His voice carried easily, heavy with confidence. "Didn't think your build was made for long swims." A few chuckles followed, not cruel, worse, casual. Anna kept working. She cleaned carbon from the bolt face with slow precision. Let the moment pass through her instead of lodging inside. "The water doesn't know who you are," she said finally. "It treats everyone the same. It wasn't defiance. It wasn't submission either, just a statement. Gable frowned, irritation flickering behind his eyes. He was used to reactions, anger, embarrassment, argument. Her neutrality denied him all of it. He scoffed and turned away. Across the room, Master Chief Thorne watched without moving. His presence was always like that, still, heavy, unavoidable. Anna could feel his assessment without seeing it. She wondered what he saw when he looked at her. A liability, a distraction, or simply another variable yet to be tested. She didn't need his approval, but she understood the system well enough to know she needed his acknowledgement. That night, lying on her bunk, sleep refused to come, not because of fear, but because of memory. She remembered her first instructor years ago, back when she was still proving to herself that she belonged in uniform at all. He'd watched her struggle up a rope, hands bleeding, shoulders trembling, and said quietly, "Strength is loud. Control is quiet. Guess which one lasts longer." She had carried that sentence with her ever since. The next morning, control was tested again. The kill house waited like a truth-telling machine. No opinions, no politics, just outcomes. Anna adjusted her helmet, checked her weapon, and stepped inside with Gable at her side. She could feel his energy, tight, competitive, wounded. They moved. He breached fast, aggressive, loud. She followed, correcting angles, covering blind spots. Their rhythm didn't sync, but somehow it worked. Or rather, she made it work. Targets appeared. He fired wide, she fired clean. Once could be luck, twice could be coincidence. By the third room, it was undeniable. "You're cutting in front of me," he muttered through clenched teeth. "I'm clearing what you leave exposed," she replied calmly. Her words weren't sharp, but truth doesn't need an edge to cut. In the final room, protocol mattered. 2 hostiles, 1 civilian, chaos waiting for impatience. Gable didn't slow down. The civilian flinched as marking rounds cracked the wall beside him. A hit, wrong target. Anna felt something tighten in her chest, not fear, not anger, but disappointment. This was how people got hurt. This was how mistakes became scars. She neutralized her hostile and turned just in time to see Gable lose control completely. His face wasn't angry anymore. It was offended, as if her competence had insulted him personally. "You think you're better than me," he snarled. "Control yourself," she said, weapon lowered. "This is training." He didn't hear it. His hand came out of nowhere, fingers tangled in her hair, yanking hard. Pain flared white-hot at her scalp. For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to instinct. Fight. Scream. Explode. Instead, clarity. She felt his balance shift, felt his grip sacrifice structure for dominance, felt the opening. Everything slowed. She didn't pull away, she stepped in. Weight dropped, wrist trapped, nerve struck. The sound he made wasn't dramatic, it was involuntary. Then gravity finished the lesson. She held him there, not to humiliate him, not to hurt him, but to end the threat. Her breathing stayed steady, her face calm. The silence afterward was heavier than the impact. When Master Chief Thorne ordered her to release him, she did so instantly. No hesitation, no triumph. Later in the debriefing room, she gave her account the way she'd been trained to, facts only. No emotion, no accusation. She didn't say he pulled her hair. She said he compromised the exercise. Language mattered. Thorne listened, nodded once, said nothing else. That should have been the end of it. It was. The tension followed them into the days that came next, settling into the team like a hairline fracture. Gable grew quieter, his arrogance turning inward, curdling into resentment. Others avoided taking sides, unsure where allegiance should land. Anna stayed focused. Checklists, gear, repetition. That was how she coped, with structure when people failed to provide it. Then the call came. An emergency beacon, A storm, a platform that shouldn't have been occupied, a CIA officer missing for 6 months. Real stakes. As the briefing unfolded, Anna felt something familiar stir, not excitement, not fear, but purpose. This wasn't about proving anything. This was about doing something that mattered. As they geared up, Master Chief Thorne approached her quietly. "You trained in cold-weather maritime environments," he said. "Yes, Master Chief. You have more experience than anyone here." It wasn't praise, it was weight. "There will be no room for ego," he added. She met his eyes. "There never is." When the craft slammed through waves toward the Triton platform, fear finally surfaced. Not loud, not paralyzing, but sharp. She acknowledged it, filed it where it belonged, and let training take over. When the lieutenant ordered the fastest route, the exposed deck, Anna spoke up. Her voice cut cleanly through the wind. "That route will kill us." The words weren't dramatic, they were precise. Resistance came immediately, especially from Gable. "Afraid of a little wind," he shouted. She didn't rise to it. "That's not bravery," she replied. "It's suicide." The storm roared around them, indifferent to pride. The lieutenant hesitated. Authority wavered. Logic won. "Sharma, you're up front." She nodded once and moved. As she rigged the rope and led them down into the substructure, Anna felt something shift, not just in command but in perception. The storm had stripped away assumptions. Down here, strength was useless without understanding. And for the first time, no one questioned her right to lead. Not because she demanded it, because the environment did. And as the metal groaned and waves thundered beneath their feet, Anna realized something quietly, almost sadly. Respect didn't arrive when you asked for it. It arrived when there was no other option left. And she was ready for what came next. Why did the darkness inside the rig feel more dangerous than the storm outside? The moment they descended beneath the main deck, the world narrowed. Wind still screamed above them, but down here it became a distant animal howl, muffled by steel and depth. The underbelly of the Triton platform was a maze, pipes thick as tree trunks, ladders slick with ice, narrow catwalks suspended over black, churning water only a few meters below. Anna moved first. Not fast, not slow, correct. Every step was tested before weight followed. Every handhold judged for rust, ice, weakness. Her breathing stayed even, fogging the inside of her mask in slow pulses. Behind her, the team followed instinctively, spacing themselves without being told. No one joked down here. No one challenged her choices. The storm had stripped them to essentials. She felt it then, the quiet pressure of responsibility, not the thrill of command, the burden of it. If she misread one surface, one angle, one sound, someone would fall, and the sea would not give them back. She raised a fist. The team froze instantly. Ahead, a steel door sat half open, light leaking through the crack like a wound. Warm yellow against endless gray. Human presence. Anna crouched, signaling 2 operators to cover rear sectors. Corbin slid in beside her, young, alert, eyes sharp behind fogged lenses. He didn't question her position. He mirrored it. That mattered. She pulled the fiber-optic scope from her kit and fed it through the gap. The image bloomed on her wrist display, grainy but clear enough. 2 men, armed, relaxed in the way only professionals ever were, rifles on the table, boots off. No uniforms, no hesitation in their movements. Not workers. She withdrew the scope and showed the feed to the lieutenant. 2 hostiles, no sign of the asset. Before the lieutenant could speak, Gable leaned in. 2 guys, we clear it, done. Anna didn't look at him. She was already scanning the room, the angles, the echoes. If we breach loud, the whole structure hears it. We lose surprise. So what? Gable snapped. We're not here to sneak. She turned then, slowly, met his eyes. We are here to extract 1 man alive, she said. not announce ourselves to everyone who wants him dead. The storm rattled the pipes as if punctuating her words. Silence followed. The lieutenant hesitated again, caught between impulse and logic. Anna could see it, the training that said speed mattered most, fighting against the reality that speed without control was noise. She pointed upward. Ventilation duct above the door, they won't expect contact from there. Corbin followed her gaze instantly. Gable scoffed. You're going to crawl through that? Yes. You're insane. She didn't answer him. The lieutenant looked to Master Chief Thorne. Thorne's nod was almost imperceptible. Do it, the lieutenant said. Anna didn't smile. She never did when a plan went her way. She simply acted. Corbin gave her a boost without being asked. She reached the vent, fingers numb as she loosened the bolts, every metallic groan masked by the storm's roar. The duct swallowed her whole, darkness pressing in on both sides. The smell of oil and rust filled her mask. Claustrophobia whispered at the edges of her mind. She ignored it. Inside the vent, time stretched. Each movement scraped fabric against metal. Below her, voices murmured in a language she recognized but didn't need to understand. Tone told her enough. She reached the opening, looked down. Perfect positioning. She keyed her radio twice. Then she dropped. The room exploded into motion, door bursting inward, her boots hitting the floor, suppressed shots coughing in tight succession. One smuggler went down instantly. The other froze, weapon forgotten, hands in the air before his brain caught up. It was over before adrenaline could spike. Anna covered the prisoner while Corbin secured him. Her heart pounded now, not fear but release, the aftershock of precision. Gable entered last. His eyes flicked from the body to the prisoner to Anna. Something unreadable passed across his face. Not anger. Calculation. The interrogation was brief. Fear loosened tongues faster than threats ever could. 4 more hostiles, 1 leader, the asset held at the top of the accommodation block. Time was no longer on their side. The lieutenant ordered movement toward the central stairwell. Anna shook her head immediately. Fatal funnel. They'll expect it, Corbin added, surprising himself with the confidence of agreement. Anna traced a route on the schematic bolted to the wall. Exterior ladders, east side, wind shadow. Gable stared at her like she'd suggested jumping into the sea. Climb outside, in this. The storm is our cover, she replied, and our enemy we choose which. Master Chief Thorne spoke once, we go outside. No one argued after that. The climb stripped them all down to something raw. Ice burned through gloves, fingers went numb, muscles screamed. Wind tried to peel them off the structure like loose skin. Anna climbed first, testing each rung, reading the building like a living thing. She felt its shudder, its resistance. Halfway up, fear crept in, not sharp but heavy, the kind that whispered about consequences. She thought briefly of her family, of quiet mornings, of a life where none of this existed. Then the ladder rattled under another gust, and the thought vanished. At the top, she scoped the communications room. The asset was alive, bruised, tied. The leader stood close, too close. No clean shot. Anna felt the weight of the moment settle fully now. This wasn't training. There would be no redo, no reset. She keyed the radio. We breach window and door same time. She assigned roles quickly, precisely. She looked at Gable last. You're on the door. It was the first time she had given him a task directly. He met her eyes, jaw tight, then nodded. The countdown felt louder than the storm. 3, 2, 1. Impact. Glass shattered inward. The door exploded open. Chaos erupted, but controlled, shaped by timing. Anna moved toward the leader instinctively, body positioning itself between gun and hostage without conscious thought. The leader reacted fast, too fast. She fired not to kill but to disarm. The pistol clattered away. Then he was on her. They hit the floor hard. His hands went for her throat. Pressure crushed her airway. Stars flared behind her eyes. Panic tried to rise. She smothered it. She wrapped her legs, shifted hips, locked the triangle. Seconds stretched. His strength faltered. Biology won. When he went limp, she held the choke just long enough to be certain. Then she released. Breathing burned, throat screamed, but she was alive, and so was the asset. Extraction blurred together after that, movement, cover, wind, rope, sea. When they finally reached safety, the storm was already breaking apart, clouds tearing open to reveal pale light. Back at base, debriefing was quiet, professional, factual. The commander listened, asked questions. Not once did Anna speak out of turn. When Gable was dismissed, she didn't watch him leave. She felt no victory, only a quiet sadness at wasted potential. Later in the armory, cleaning her rifle, Anna felt the weight finally lift. Corbin approached, hesitant. "Can you show me the lock?" he asked. She paused, then nodded. As she demonstrated, Master Chief Thorne watched from a distance. When their eyes met, he didn't nod this time. He didn't need to. Anna understood then that leadership wasn't about being the strongest voice in the room. It was about being the calmest when everything else was screaming. And she carried that truth with her, knowing the cost and choosing it anyway. Why did the silence after the mission feel heavier than the storm that nearly killed them? The helicopter's rotors faded into the distance, leaving behind a quiet that pressed against Anna's ears. The kind of quiet that comes only after chaos, when the body hasn't caught up to the fact that it survived. The Triton platform was gone now, swallowed by fog and sea, but pieces of it still lived inside her, metal groaning, ice burning, the moment her airway closed under another man's hands. She sat strapped into her seat, helmet resting against the bulkhead, eyes unfocused. Around her the others shifted, checked gear, spoke in low voices. No one celebrated. No one cracked a joke. They all knew how close it had been. Anna flexed her fingers slowly, grounding herself in sensation. They still worked. That mattered. Her throat ached, each swallow a reminder of how fragile strength really was. Across from her, Gable avoided her eyes. That might have bothered her once. Now it just registered as information. Back at base, the debriefing room felt sterile. Bright lights, white walls, the storm reduced to digital data on a screen, timelines, coordinates, helmet cam footage stripped of fear and breath and pain. Anna watched herself on screen with a strange detachment. The controlled movements, the decisive pauses, the moment she stepped between the gun and the hostage without hesitation. She didn't remember deciding to do that. It had simply happened. The lieutenant spoke carefully, crediting decisions, explaining mistakes. When he deferred to her route selection, Anna felt the room shift, not dramatically, but subtly. Authority reassigning itself in the minds of men who had once doubted. When the commander dismissed Gable, there was no satisfaction in it, just inevitability. Afterward, Anna found herself alone again, in the armory, the place where her thoughts always settled into order. She cleaned her rifle with the same methodical care she always had. Oil, cloth, inspection, repetition. This was where she processed things. Not through speeches, through stillness. Her body began to betray her then, the delayed reaction. Hands trembling slightly, breath catching where it shouldn't, the fight leaving her system in uneven waves. She closed her eyes for a moment. She saw the leader's eyes again, the cold calculation, the moment his fingers tightened, the instant she realized there was no room left for fear. Fear had come later. She breathed through it now. Sharma. She opened her eyes to see Master Chief Thorne standing nearby, not looming, just present. "You did well out there," he said. It was the closest thing to praise she would ever get from him. "Thank you, Master Chief," she replied, voice steady. He studied her for a moment longer than necessary. That decision in the communications room. You put yourself in front of the asset. "Yes, Master Chief." "Why?" The question wasn't accusatory, it was curious. Anna considered lying, considered saying it was training, protocol, instinct. Instead, she told the truth, because there wasn't time to calculate another option. Thorne nodded slowly. Sometimes that's the only honest answer. He turned to leave, then paused. "The team will look to you now, whether you want it or not." After he left, Anna sat back down. The weight of that statement settled in slowly. Leadership wasn't something she'd chased. It had arrived anyway, uninvited, like responsibility always did. Later that night, she lay on her bunk staring at the ceiling, sleep hovering just out of reach. The base was quiet, too quiet. She thought about the swim again, about the cold, about how fear had demanded movement and discipline had demanded stillness. She wondered how many times she'd chosen stillness without realizing it. In the days that followed, training resumed, but the atmosphere had changed. Questions came her way now, not challenges, clarifications. Men watched her during exercises, unconsciously sinking to her pace. She didn't correct them. She just kept working. One afternoon, during a live-fire drill, a younger operator froze, weapon shaking, breathing ragged. Panic had found him the way cold water found lungs. Anna stepped beside him without drawing attention, spoke quietly. "Slow your breath," she said. "You're here, you're safe, one round at a time." He followed her cadence, fired, hit. Afterward, he nodded at her with something like gratitude, not worship, respect. That mattered more. Still, nights were harder. Sleep brought fragments, the choke, the wind, the weight of another human being fatting under her control. She woke sometimes with her jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. She didn't talk about it. She knew better. Resilience wasn't about being untouched. It was about carrying weight without letting it distort who you were. One evening, Corbin joined her in the armory again. He watched her clean her weapon in silence for a while before speaking. "Do you ever doubt yourself?" he asked. She paused, the cloth stilled in her hand. "Yes," she said. He seemed surprised. "Really?" "Every time," she added. "If I didn't, that would worry me." He nodded, absorbing that. As he left, Anna caught her reflection in the polished steel of the bench. Eyes tired, face calm, shoulders carrying more than rank ever could. She didn't look like a hero. She looked like someone who had learned the cost of control and accepted it. Outside, the ocean moved on, indifferent as ever. Inside, Anna understood something she hadn't before. Strength wasn't loud. Respect wasn't demanded. And survival wasn't just about making it through the storm. It was about what you carried afterward and what you chose to do with it. She picked up her rifle again, steady hands guiding familiar motion. Tomorrow would ask more of her. And she would answer. Quietly. Why did victory feel like something she wasn't allowed to touch? The commendation came quietly, slipped into routine like it was an afterthought. No ceremony, no gathered formation, just a line in a report and a nod from a superior who didn't linger long enough for pride to take root. Anna read it once, then again. Exceptional judgment under extreme conditions. She folded the paper and placed it back where it belonged, as if leaving it out too long might invite scrutiny. Praise, she'd learned, was temporary. Expectations were not. Training intensified after Triton. Not because command demanded it, but because the team did. The unspoken pressure to rise to whatever standard she had set pressed against her every day. They ran harder, planned deeper, asked sharper questions. Anna absorbed it all without comment. During briefings, eyes turned toward her when decisions grew complex. She felt the shift in gravity, the way rooms subtly reorganized themselves around competence. It made her uncomfortable. Leadership without distance could blur into responsibility without end. She didn't want followers. She wanted teammates. Still, the weight followed her home. At night, the platform returned, not the chaos, the moment after, the leader's body going slack beneath her, the realization that she had chosen to stay conscious while someone else faded out. She woke once with her hand clenched tight around nothing. She released it slowly. One morning, during a coastal insertion drill, the ocean surged harder than predicted. Waves slapped the craft with unpredictable violence. A junior operator lost his footing, gear pulling him sideways. Anna grabbed him without thinking. For a heartbeat, they both teetered at the edge. Then balance returned. Afterward, he thanked her with visible embarrassment. "I should have been more careful." She shook her head. "You were the sea changed." That was how she framed mistakes now, not as failures but as variables. Still, something inside her remained unsettled. Not guilt, not fear. A question. It surfaced during downtime, during cleaning, during moments when noise faded. What happens when control isn't enough? She thought about the leader again, not his violence but his eyes, calm, certain, convinced of his own justification. She had ended his control with precision. But she hadn't ended the system that created him. That bothered her. One evening, Master Chief Thorne found her alone near the pier, watching the water roll beneath the moonlight. He didn't announce himself. "You look like you're waiting for something," he said. "Just thinking," she replied. "Dangerous habit." She allowed herself a faint smile. He leaned against the railing beside her. "People like clean stories, heroes, villains, clear lines." "And this wasn't clean," she said. "No," he agreed, "it never is." They stood in silence for a moment. Waves slapped against pylons, steady and relentless. "You didn't hesitate," Thorne said finally. "That's rare." "I did," Anna replied, "just not where you could see it." He glanced at her. "And that's what scares you." She didn't deny it. "Control kept you alive," he continued. "But control isn't the same as certainty. Don't confuse the two." She nodded slowly. That night sleep came easier. Not because answers had arrived, but because she accepted the question. Days later, during a joint exercise with another unit, an unexpected complication arose. Communications failed. Visibility dropped. Command hesitated. Anna didn't step forward immediately. She waited. Watched how the team moved without direction. Saw where friction formed, where fear crept in. Then she spoke. "Left flank is exposed. We reroute now." They followed. Later, an officer pulled her aside. "Why didn't you take command sooner?" Anna answered honestly. They needed to find their footing first, otherwise they'd lean instead of stand. The officer studied her for a long moment. "You're not interested in rank, are you?" She shook her head. "I'm interested in outcomes." That night she returned to the armory and found Corbin waiting. He held his rifle awkwardly, uncertain. "Can you help me?" he asked. She nodded. As she adjusted his grip, corrected his stance, she realized something quietly profound. Leadership wasn't about being followed. It was about creating space for others to become capable. That realization softened something in her chest she hadn't known was rigid. Later, alone again, she reflected on the moment she'd stepped in front of the hostage. The calculation hadn't been heroic. It had been necessary. That distinction mattered. Victory, she realized, wasn't something to celebrate loudly. It was something to carry responsibly. The ocean outside remained vast and indifferent. It always would be. But inside, Anna felt steadier now. Not because she had mastered fear, but because she had learned to live alongside it, without letting it decide who she became. And in that quiet balance, she found something close to peace. Not triumph, not relief, just readiness for whatever came next. Why did the hardest moment come after everything was finally over? The base woke slowly that morning, as if even the concrete needed time to believe the storm season had passed. Anna stood alone at the edge of the training field, breath visible in the cool air, watching the horizon lighten. No mission clock ticking, no orders crackling through her headset. Just stillness. She had learned to move inside chaos, to make decisions when seconds mattered, to act without hesitation when lives were balanced on thin edges. But this quiet asked something different. Behind her, boots approached. She didn't turn. She recognized the cadence. Master Chief Thorne stopped a few steps away. "They're finalizing your evaluation," he said. She nodded. "I figured. You'll pass." It wasn't reassurance, it was fact. Silence settled between them, not awkward, earned. "You know," Thorne added, "most people chase recognition their whole careers." Anna exhaled slowly, "and most of them don't know what to do when they get it." He glanced at her, a faint crease forming at the corner of his eyes. "You're different." "I just don't want it to be the reason I'm trusted," she replied. That answer stayed with him. Later the paperwork came. Approval, continuation, no fanfare, just confirmation that she belonged, not as an exception, not as a symbol, but as an operator. She folded the pages neatly and placed them away. That afternoon she ran drills with the team one last time before rotation. No speeches, no lessons, just presence. When someone made a mistake, she corrected it quietly. When someone succeeded, she let it stand on its own. At the end, Corbin lingered while others filtered out. "You ever think about leaving?" he asked. She considered it, sometimes. "What keeps you?" She didn't answer immediately. "Responsibility," she said finally. "Not obligation, responsibility." He nodded, understanding more than he said. As the sun dipped lower, Anna returned to the pier alone. The ocean stretched endlessly before her, calm now, hiding nothing and everything at once. She thought about the first swim, the cold, the counting, the choice to stay still when panic demanded movement. She understood it better now. Discipline wasn't suppression. It was selection. Choosing what mattered, choosing when to act, choosing when not to. Her reflection wavered in the dark water, not heroic, not invincible, just steady. She heard laughter behind her, new recruits running past, loud and untested, unaware of how much the sea would one day take from them before giving anything back. Anna didn't envy them. She hoped for them. That night, as she packed her gear for the next phase, she felt no need to look back. The storm, the rig, the fight, they were part of her now, but they didn't define her. She wasn't the moment she was pulled into violence. She was every choice she made afterward. When lights went out across the base, Anna lay awake briefly, listening to the familiar hum of distant machinery. Her breathing slowed naturally, no counting required. Tomorrow would come, another mission, another test. And when it did, she would meet it the same way she always had. Quietly, with control. Because sometimes, dignity doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't demand space. It doesn't announce strength. Sometimes dignity simply acts.